Hello and welcome to the Tinkercards video gallery. Today we're going to create some easy backgrounds using Brushos, and then we combine them with the blooms and the birds, or the birds and the blooms set more like, from STAMPlorations. So this is the stamp set, and I'm going to work with the cardinal and the hooded oriole, and maybe with some of the flowers as well, and some sentiments. So we'll do that in a little while. And now I've got a couple of pieces of card, and we'll just be doing a little Brusho background. I'm relatively new to using Brushos. I think I've only ever used them once before. And so I thought I'll just play around with them. My head was so busy with all sorts of other ideas, and sometimes then going back to basic and just sort of letting things flow is quite a good idea. Now, first up, I'm going to just use two colors, and I'm going to use two yellows, and it's lemon and yellow. So I'll first sprinkle a little bit of lemon on. I mean, some people sort of like pierce little holes and then use them like salt and pepper shakers. I think I'll just be daring and do it like this. It's worked for a couple of backgrounds that I tried out before, so I just sprinkle a little bit, and the little flecks will be coming off without me even noticing where they're going, and this is the nice surprise when you're working with Brushos. So that's just a little bit of yellow, which doesn't look very different, but normally lemon is more of a greenish yellow. A yellow itself can sometimes be a bit more golden in colour. So I'm just going to pop a couple of more flecks in. I'm not so sure I want too many of these, so just do it a bit randomly. So I'm going to pop that to one side now, because I'm going to do spraying together. And the next one I'm going to do is purple. Now I've got a piece of card here, it's got a little flaw in it, but I thought with purple it will sort of cover and hide it, so I'm going to use it anyway. And just in case you're wondering, the card I'm using is nothing special, it's just some box standard card that I tend to get even actually in the pound shop, dare I say. So it's just literally, it will sort of move and stretch a bit when it gets wet, but it usually flattens out all right, and if you stick it down then with glue it's absolutely fine. Right, so we got one with two colours. Now then, probably not too different, and just one with one colour. And with the brushes, you got like different shades in the actual crystals, so they do bring different colours out as soon as you start spritzing them. And all I do is I'll be spritzing them with water now a little bit, and then you can see. And of course, it's gone over to the side, and that's the fun when you're doing two at the same time, because you're never quite sure. I've probably got this one a little bit too wet, but never mind. So what I'm actually having here now is a purple and a yellow one, so that's quite good. So I thought that might be the case if I start doing it like this, and that's why I haven't done anything. That's what I sort of wanted them to be together. So this just adds a little bit of extra interest. And if you see how these are sort of moving around with the water, you could pick them up and sort of allow them to move a bit further. So I'll just leave them as they are now and let them dry. So which means let's move this here to one side, and you can see that I got quite a good bit of scrap paper underneath, but never mind. Right, so that's back to scrap paper underneath rather than a clean sheet. No. And I have a couple of others. Let me just dry this off that I'm not getting anything in the way, because the brushes have gone to the side here and I don't want to get the yellow and the lilac onto what I'm going to work with right now. So I'll be using them later to just see how they've sort of moved around and bled, and then I'll sort of decide what stamps to use with them and what to do with them. Now I've made a few backgrounds already. I'm just going to grab them. Now, just bear with me a moment. They're just mixed in with something else that I'll be doing in a bit. Now this was the very first one, and I was working with the turquoise and the ultramarine, so you got like the darker specks in there. And when I looked at it, I thought this would go really nice with the large marigold that STAMPlorations do, which is on its way over the Atlantic, probably mid-flight now. So I shall be finishing this card later, and you'll be seeing it probably next week on my blog. That's if the stamps arrive this week. Sometimes they're a little bit late. And just in case, the marigold is this here, and it's a really nice big bloom, so that should fill this gap quite well. And I know Shirley's used it on one of her recent projects for the mixed media challenge block, I think. So it's a bit larger than this one here, and that should sit in here quite nicely, and I can probably then add maybe another couple to it. So this will have to wait, this background, because it's quite good when you get these things out to do a few in one sitting, and then sort of you can just use them with whatever. Now with this background here, I've used again the ultramarine and the turquoise, and I've also sprayed it with some gold artist ink, and I thought I'd be pairing that one up with the cardinal, just quite quick and easy. And then that will go and sit on here on my white base card rather than a blue. I want to keep it quite simple and not too overbearing on colour. And then I've got some twine, which I'll be putting at the end, at the bottom here. And I'm not going to put a sentiment on at this point. I think I'd rather put it inside when I come to use the card. So that will be one. And then the next one is where I've worked with the red and the crimson, and I did one of the blue backgrounds. I did them both the same like I did the other two earlier, and it's got a couple of blue flecks in, and that just really it's quite nice because it's added interest. And again, I sprayed it with the gold, and with this here now I want to use the black hooded oriole, and I also wanted to use, which I need to get off, the daffodils to go with it. I don't know whether they make country of origin, but I just thought it would be a nice bloom, and I'm just going to stamp it as in red, just a few. I won't even mask them, and then I stamp the oriole over it. So let me just get a red out. Which red would probably go best with this? Should I go for bright red? I don't want it to be too in your face. I just think that could be too brown. I've had a bit of problems with these ink pads here. Oh no, let's try the Riding Hood red. They've gone a bit funny, my Stampin'Up ink pads. They've sort of like got like a really sort of strange thing over it. Let's just see if it stamps red when I'm inking it up, because yeah, that will be quite perfect, because that would just sit quite nicely sort of in and blend into the background. So sometimes they end sometimes they end up stamping brown. I'm not quite sure what this is, but I'm just going to go ahead with whatever is going to come out of this here. Just making sure that it is fully inked up, and I'm just popping a couple of blossoms into the background. And even if they don't stamp fully, if they're not entirely 100% visible, I don't mind, because I don't want them to be overbearing or taking up too much of a focal point. So I think I'll leave it at that. Right, let's put that back. And where's my Memento ink gone? I did have it in my hand earlier. Oops, the joys of doing two things at once. Where did I put my Memento ink? I should have checked this. Oh, here it is. Found it. So now I need to make sure that my Oriel is inked up very well. And it's just going to sit here right amongst these daffodils. Here we go. So it's even got like a little golden blob now on its chest, so that's quite nice. And what I'll do is I'll just colour it in a little bit with Promarkers now. So let me just see, which ones am I going to get? I was going to get yellow ones. I might actually do that, and if it doesn't look right, then tough. So if I just do this and this here. So just got tulip, gold, and I've got a bit of burnt orange, which I'm going to use for the beak and its feet. So I just do this a little bit quickly. And this is just to sort of highlight the little bird a little bit more. And I think the gold will go quite nicely, and in sort of highlighting the lovely features of this drawing, I think. And it will blend it in with the colours of my spritzing as well. I suppose I could have just sort of cut it out and popped it on, but sort of as in fussy cutting, but I sort of sometimes don't like doing too much layering, so it's quite nice to maybe see something where you can just do a little bit of colouring still, and that gives it a sort of the depth. So I need to do a little bit of shading around it to make it pop out a little bit more. I think I'm not even going to go in with the tulip yellow. That could be a bit too bright, almost like lemony, if that makes sense to you. So I just do a bit more of the gold. So I think what I'll do is I'll just go and get like a light grey and just give it a little outline. So if you do my cool grey one, and then fussy it with a blender pen. don't think I even need a blender pen with this, because there's so much going on. You don't need to fade the colour out. But it just gives it like a little more depth if you do that, and that then sort of that replaces the layering that I could have done. So it just pops out a little bit more from the background now. So just do a little bit more here. So that's that. And then all that I need to do is layer it up really. So I've got my white base card, and hopefully my glue is going to run properly. This is just going to go on a plain white base card, and I'll probably put a couple of gems or pearls on it, and then maybe like a little sentiment, see how I feel, but maybe just with love in the corner there or something like that. So the finished cards will be on the Stamplorations blog this coming Thursday, which is the 9th of July. And it will also be on my Tinker Cards blog, so that's either stamplorations.blogspot.com or tinkercards.blogspot.co.uk. Well, thank you for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye.